mitzvah v'mitpachat.
Can you imagine a mitzvah so powerful it could save your life? And there are no shortage of stories chronicling its legendary power. These are a few of those stories. You're watching the Mitpachat Chronicles.
Hi everyone, B'siyata Dishmaya. Welcome to the Mitpachat Chronicles. And if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing so that you can stay on top with all the latest episodes. And today's guest is the creator and author of Daily Dose of Emunah and the founder of Or Emunah Energy. Here today to talk about her journey in head coverings, I'd like to welcome Rebbetzin Orit Esther Riter. Welcome, Rabbanit. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, thank God. Thank God, thank God. So I'm so excited to have you on. I'm so excited to hear about your journey. So tell us a little about yourself, what you do, what you're doing now, what's going on, how's the land of Eretz Israel? Let us know.
Baruch Hashem, back here in Israel. I was here as a young child. Now I'm back here for 12 years. We made it back our Aliyah, status back 12 years ago. And, my journey is quite complex, but you can't teach Emunah unless you've been through the Emunah fires.
That is true. That is true. There's something, it's like childbirth, right? Like remember the first time they gave you the books and they said, this is what you're anticipating. And then you go through it and it's nothing like what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, nothing could teach you about life more than life itself. That's for sure.
That's true.
I always say, "Mi betzarich hazeh Eloka." From my flesh, I know you, Hashem, and that's really,
right. It's true. No, it's really true, and it's such insight that you get. And it's like that Chachma Bina Dat. It's like you learn, you hear about it, and then you experience it, and now you've got something to say. So until you've gone through it, you really don't know.
Absolutely. So I've been involved with, teaching at the Daily Dose of Emunah for over a decade, and it's been quite a journey. I actually, I say I'm first an Emunah student before I'm an Emunah teacher. I really prefer very, very much so to constantly learn and integrate and try to become that Emunah ideal, personality that I try to, teach others.
It's a work in progress, though. It's a work in progress. And just when you think you've got it, like a new challenge comes that breaks the old mold. So
yes, for sure. I always like to look at, life as becoming and growing and being something new, something that, and that's really the derech of Chassidut, the derech of the Baal Shem Tov, is that you should always try to become that which you weren't yesterday, and life teaches you how to do that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So that's what I've been involved in the last decade, really teaching Emunah and trying to become that Emunah student that I try to teach others, to be.
It's true. And, I find, Emunah is such a like well-received topic, right? But there's one area in life that Hashem has really taught me Emunah, and it's that in the head coverings. I mean, talk about a new level of emunah that you're going to have with Hashem.
Yes.
I mean, it's, head coverings, it's such a difficult mitzvah for a lot of people. I myself didn't struggle as much. I'm not going to say I didn't have my struggles. I certainly did, especially when you're going out for the first few times and every new experience, which you're going to, when I went to my job, when I went out, when I saw my family. And, I think sometimes, it's so funny. We talk about Emunah and we go through the classes and, we know we have the knowledge, we have the knowledge, and then we go out and it's actually applying that knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I want to know, how was it for you starting this journey? Because you are a very public person. You do go out to speak. And you're going out and you're covering your hair. I mean, I'm sure this was not like, I'm ready to go tomorrow and I'll do this way. How did you get to this point in covering your hair? Because I'm sure it takes a lot of emunah in this area.
Oh, yeah. So my whole journey in coming back to Tshuva was actually quite, everybody's got their story, but it was quite fascinating. my whole journey in general, coming back to tshuva, was quite hysterical, actually. I'm a chef by profession, and I was working in catering,
Right.
and that was not from. So I don't know what. Obviously, Hashem had a plan, but he decided that I should open up a Glad Kosher catering company, even though I was not even keeping Shabbat, unfortunately, at the time. So in order to be able to do that, I actually went under Hashgacha Chafke.
Right.
And, Rabbi Center, the whole Center family, they know me very, very well. My journey is actually one of quite surprise to them, because I don't know if they even expected me to become from after giving me mashgiach after mashgiach to watch over my ovens. But anyway, it was really quite a journey. And as I was preparing for various different Glad Kosher events at different mashgichim, was talking to them. I had a yeshivish background, that's a story in and of itself. When I was a younger child, I did go to yeshiva in Yeshiva of Kings Bay in Brooklyn, but we never really kept Torah in the house.
Right.
And so when I was asking the mashgichim, questions as we're cutting potatoes and preparing, sliced, whatever, chicken cutlets for these events, I'm asking questions, and I'm very inquisitive, and I'm a truth seeker by nature.
Right.
And I found myself getting drawn closer, closer and closer to Hashem, and really recognizing the truth in Torah. And when I came to my husband and I decided to pop it on him, he was not quite thrilled, to say the least. And it took a lot of...
Emunah begins.
Talk about Emunah, yeah. Talk about woman's bina that has to start working on that level.
Now, there's a whole other art form that we have to start introducing to the world, right?
Yes. How do you get your husband to see the truth when you are exposed to it? And I had a lot of women today who actually will say that to me. They want to take upon themselves really either wearing tichels versus shetels, or they want to increase their tznius or whatever, and their husbands are not on board. And
I totally understand, because we live. I'm not too far from New York, and I know some communities here that the women want to do it, and it's the men who are giving them the hard time, which is shocking. It's really shocking. I come from a Spanish background, and I gotta be honest, a lot of times, I don't know. It's almost like we've got a little support in this, because men generally don't want their women to be on display. It's almost like if you are on display, it's not only, it's funny, in old school Spanish culture, it's not only a cross against you, it's also your family. It's almost like they're looking at your family like, oh my God, how did you raise this girl that she wants to be on display? So I feel like sometimes we get a little bit more, help in that area, but it is shocking how many men really want to have their wives out there this way. And the wives are really uncomfortable about it. I have heard this a lot.
Right. So, it really took some moving, shaking, stormings of the heavens for Hashem, to get things moving. And thank you, Hashem. My husband, jumped on board. And so the next step after let's just keep Shabbos. And let's do, keep kashrut, and let's stop, doing a lot of the other things. And now let's start taharat mishpacha.
Right.
And guess what? Next step is covering your hair. And I remember, I have to tell you this, saying this, I've said this a few times. I don't know if I've said this in the public forum. I remember at one point, my husband and I, we'd go shopping for food and whatever. And at one point he saw where I was going with this. I was moving very, very fast. In the sneeze department, I'm start galloping ahead.
I'm like, please slow her down.
I'm like galloping, and I'm leaving the dust behind, dust ball behind him, and he's like, where are you going with this? I mean, we said Shabbos.
Worst case, you're a chef. You could have took that big frying pan, just hit him on the head, and say, "Listen, we're going."
I was trying to just make it a little bit more civil that way, but you're right. So we're here. I am. I'm moving ahead, and at one point, I'm like, okay, it's time to cover my head. So a baseball bat with some hair sticking, bangs, all that. That was okay. But when you want to start covering your whole hair, shetels weren't an option here. Okay, it was just the mitpachat.
Right.
So he at one point looked at another woman. We were going shopping, and he looked at another woman who was wearing a very tight head covering, or what to say the least. And he looked at me and he says, "Listen, Shabbos, Okay. Half truth. Okay. He looked at me and he pointed his finger and he pointed to the woman and he said, that you will not be looking like that.
Wow.
That's literally what he said to me.
He put his
So
foot
I
down.
was
That
like,
was
okay.
it.
I kind of understood we were at a wall here. So again,
you hit his threshold for his comfort level.
yeah. So I remember I even called one of the Rebbeim at Kaf K and I was crying to him and I said, I really want to cover my hair. Like I really do. What am I supposed to do? And he had a conversation with my husband and it was so interesting. Just the whole process was really such siyata dishmaya. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Right.
He was so gung ho against it. And then at one point, he was the one telling me, "You've got hair sticking out of your, you gotta tuck it in." And he was the one that kept at one point upgrading me more and more and more and more. And again, for us, I don't know why it wasn't that it wasn't accepted in our community. We were in Fairlawn, New Jersey. There were women who were wearing wigs, but it was just not something that we even considered. It was straight wearing the mitpachat. It was straight wearing the tickles. And once it was done, it was done.
Right.
It was just done, and that's where I am today.
I know it's so funny because it's not, I think for some of us, we think it's just us that's going through this mental, do I do it? Do I not do it? What are people going to say? We tend to forget that there's a whole husband next to us who also has his thoughts and ideas and his feelings about it too. And it's funny. I don't know, like, now here we go. Like, here's just my personality. Maybe it's the Spanish girl in me, but it's like, who knows? Maybe I have a little chef in me too. Because as a side note, I'm gonna tell you a chef joke. Okay, we have a tradition in my family. You give a pot to the woman when they're getting married, and usually it's one that you've used. It's got all the love and all the joy, and and all. But when I got married, I got a very heavy duty frying pan, and I think maybe they were trying to tell me, listen, you may need this once in a while in your life, But it is, I don't know that I ever stopped to ask my husband. I just said, this is what it is. We're doing it, right?
Wow.
But I got to tell you though, I'm sure that he had his feelings, but I got to say that Baruch Hashem, he did come over very quickly. And I'm not sure if it was, I think I'm going to ask him now that we're on this subject. I don't know if it was that he saw how important it was for me. And I don't know, in many ways, like I almost felt like it was his gift back to me, to allow me the support to do it, to be on board with it. Now he's very much like your husband. And he even tells me, no, I like this tichel with that shirt better. This one goes better with this one. He definitely, and I have to tell you, I was like very surprised because I wasn't sure how he would feel about it. But thank God, I have to tell you that he has not only grown in accepting this mitzvah, but I got to tell you, and I've said this before in another episode that I did, that the more that he saw myself modest, when he saw someone unmodest, he was starting to get these natural reactions to start to want to like cover. And like he was almost having like this, like the way that he looked at my mitpachat the first time is now the way he looks at somebody who's not, he's like, what is this? Like how, like
no,
what?
because you grow a spiritual sensitivity, you grow a tznius sensitivity. Listen, even me as a woman, I sometimes have, my eyes sort of wander.
Right.
Certainly, I'm sure in the States or out of Israel, it's even more so. But here I live in a very tznius. Ramat Bet Shemesh is very tznius.
Right.
I mean, even the chilonim, so to speak, they're not yet observant. You really are quite tznius. But I know when I travel to the States,
it's like a bombardment all the time. I don't know how the youth, you and I, I'm of a certain age, and I can remember like you would never even see anything. First of all, things of women's undergarments, they were never flaunted the way they were.
Right.
Even their catalogs were very discreet in the way they were mailed to you.
Yes.
You never saw anything of that nature, at least until 10 o'clock, and it had to be on some kind of paid, like a HBO or something of that nature.
Right.
And now, What's going on here in the States is very shocking. I mean, things that you think would have never, even 5 years ago, would have thought could be possible is now possible.
Yeah.
Some of the curriculum that they're now even teaching within the schools, it's very shocking.
Right.
And all I can say is that I wish I was in your town, and I think there's going to be a lot of us. I pray there's going to be a big aliyah going to these towns because it's a bombardment. I don't know how the youth, you can see now why the sages said, I don't want to be in that.
Right, to live in this generation. For sure.
You don't know. And the thing is that I think that was another reason why I felt like this was so important to do a video series as opposed to a written series. Because I think that the same way the Satan is bombarding all the world with these things, that we need to fight it the same way. I wanted to have women showing their styles of mitpachat, showing not only their personalities, I think it was in, I had another episode and I was talking about how, a Jewish doctor thought that I was being beaten and somehow suppressed simply because I'm wearing a tichel, and I felt like with all these women libs, where's my right to choose to be modest? Where's my support? Like, I love being modest. I love wearing my head coverings.
Right.
I love being a mom. I love being a wife. That doesn't mean that I'm being suppressed in some way or.
Right. So for me, the wearing of the mitpachat is, when we say it's a crown, for me, that's exactly how I feel. I feel that I am actually declaring, if anything, I'm declaring a sense of royalty.
Right.
I feel one of the most important things for me, my motivational factors, I'm wearing a mitpachat and I wear them to sleep. Like, really, the four walls of my house really very rarely, if any time, see. I only get dressed in the bathroom. I change my.
Me too, and that's been since young.
Right. If I forgot something, I will go out, covering my hair with a towel. Like, I don't go. So for me, though, the reason, my motivation is because I know the Kabbalistic teachings and the sacred teachings, they teach that this is how we safeguard our children. You know what? I can't do very much for my kids. My kids have their own mind. I can give them chinuch to the best that I can. But if I could do one thing, is it a sacrifice? Yeah. Is it a sacrifice for me to wear two coverings? I wear a sock and a mitpachat. Is that not it's a huge sacrifice,
especially
for me.
In the summertime.
And in Israel, in Bet Shemesh, the house of the sun. I I wear two long sleeve shirts with collar, and a slip and a skirt. Everything is double. Everything is double. Is it a sacrifice? Of course, but I'll tell you, for me, I feel like this, it's not just my amuna, it's the Torah teaching.
Right.
This is what's going to safeguard my kids. Now, I don't know how he safeguards them. This world, the next world, it doesn't matter. I have amuna that I know that whatever it is that I'm doing, it's not going for naught.
Right.
Will I not look more beautiful in a sheitel? You think, as a public teacher, I haven't thought about it 300 bazillion times.
I know.
Everyone's wearing it. I have to tell you the story. Okay, we can't have this interview without the story. So when we were living in America, okay, at one point we were invited to a wedding in Lakewood. Okay, now Orit Esther doesn't compromise. She goes for the tichel. I tried. I tried one time going out with a sheitel. I got into the car. I made it to the place. I couldn't get out of the car. I told my husband, take me back home. I got to put my tichel on. I just didn't feel right. I actually wore it. I said, you know what? I'm going to this place. I bought a nice sheitel. I said, whatever, for me, it didn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. Okay. So anyway, we're going to this wedding in Lakewood. There were at least 700 people in this wedding, like literally. And I'm telling you, I was the only woman with a tichel. My husband knew to spot me. He's like, is that cool?
There's only one in the crowd, only one.
Did I feel out of place? Yeah, I really, really did. But again, for me, this is how I felt. I felt like this is my royalty. And if it means that I stick out like a sore thumb, then that's okay. I'm with my truth. This is my truth. This is the way I was taught to do. Now, again, everybody's got to go by their Rav.
Right.
Everybody's got to go by their, but wearing a head covering for me is protecting my kids.
I'm glad that you said that about your truth, because I remember there was a book that came out from Muncie, and when it first came out, it was called Adorn with Dignity. And I remember some of the contributors gave the book to me. It was after I did a lecture on head coverings and to tell my journey as well in Muncie. And they gave me the book. And, this was a town that very frum. They don't have YouTube. They don't have a lot of these things. And they knew I was teaching on there. And they said, I really would appreciate if you could teach this book. And I did. I actually taught it the first time on WhatsApp, got a lot of heat for it. And the second time I decided to put it on YouTube. And I got to tell you that I remember saying that had I gone any other way, I would have felt like I was letting myself down each time. And again, it's like you said, it works for other people. It just did not work for me. Like it would not have worked for me. And I would have felt like for me, covering any other way, that I would have felt like, it's almost like, when somebody's trying to groom you to do something that like you don't want to do, and all that feeling inside, that's what I was feeling. And again, it's not, listen, everybody is where they are. I love everyone, right? My personal feeling was like, if I had gone out like that, I would have had to convince myself all these things just to silence what I was feeling, like you said, this is my truth, this is my crown, and I think for myself in a lot of ways, like I think even for my own personal, history and my own story, I just felt like I couldn't do it any other way. I had to go out with the mitpachat. I felt like there were so many in my own family, so many in Klal Yisrael. If you look about the whole history of all of Klal Yisrael and all the Bat Yisrael who had so much taken from them, including their mitpachat, here I have this opportunity to do it. And I wanted to do it I do this mitzvah with like I'm saying it now, I have all these, like I'm on fire, like I'm on all these. I love it with everything. I feel like this mitzvah will be with me in Shemayim. Yes. Shalom, I should have a harsh trial or whatever. This mitzvah is going to be the one that is with me. So I owe everything to this. And I feel like it not only was my husband's gift to me, but it was Hashem's gift to me to be able to do it in such a time.
Beautiful. It's interesting. Some people will call this a shmata. That there are those that will call it a shmata.
I know what you mean.
What I say, what I say to myself when people call it a shmata? I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is the shmata that's cleaning my soul.
That's right.
It is the shmata that's cleaning my soul.
That's right.
You know what? If that's what you think that I'm wearing on my head, then you know what? I wear it with pride.
And the thing is, what I tell people, like sometimes people ask me, what do you say to women? And I say nothing. I let them see it. I let them see it. This is something that you just, I think that the joy that I have in doing it is something that will radiate out. Yes. Period. I don't need to.
Exactly what it is. You have to feel, if you're wearing it with such like,
it's going to show.
Listen, you're talking to a girl who, at the age of 17, when I was dating my husband, we weren't from, okay? When he took me out on my first date, he reminded me of this, by the way. I didn't even remember this. I came out of my house with a brush in my hand, just brushing my hair. That's how I was at 17 years old. This is the old Orit Esther, not the Rebbetzin at all.
I mean, you're from America. You were in America at the time. I was in the 80s. So you remember the Aquanet. You remember all those. You remember what was going on in the 80s. So that was the old Devorah Esther.
Wow. So I would dress up, and I of course, my makeup and my hair, and that's mini skirts like that. It wasn't that if you're not, unfortunately, in Torah.
Right.
But it's not like I could tell you I never really cared about myself. I was neglectful of how I looked. The opposite. The opposite. For me, the biggest compliment comes to me when women will write me and say to me, I never knew that you could be tsanua and pretty at the same time.
I know.
That's a beautiful compliment.
It's really shy. And you know what's so funny? I tell people, like I say, people say, they say the same thing to me. I say, you know what? I think personally, I pray every day, Hashem, please dress me. And when I say this, I mean like please find new things for me, dress me in a way. And I'm telling you that I have people at work that stop me every day just to see what I'm wearing.
Wow, it's so
I
beautiful.
mean, I feel like, okay, so now we're in a time where everything goes apparently, and everyone can be whatever. You can have purple hair, you can have whatever you want.
Right.
So why is it such a shock that I want to be this way? Like, why can't that be a support as well? You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. I'm with you 100%. In my opinion, again, we do have to, seek out to see what is our truth. And if we know, and Bezat Hashem, if we don't know yet, we'll all get to know the Torah, and we'll understand that we really are, as we're covering ourselves up on all levels, in terms of clothing, in terms of our head, we really are safeguarding our light, our energy, our neshama. One of the things that I feel like that most people don't understand when it comes to Torah observance and halachas is they think that we, as observant Jews, the reason why we're doing it is because it enables us to become, we're more ethical, we're more moral, it enhances our morality and our ethical values. We become more humane, more giving, more peace, more love, filled with loving kindness. But what we don't understand is the one thing that Torah gives us, that, and you can have two Jews, and one will say, tzedakah, I dress nicely, I don't show my cleavage, I'm like very honoring of everyone, and I'm not looking, I'm not jealous. And they talk to me about these ethical values, and I say to them, I understand what you're saying, but Torah enhances, yes, it does enhance our ethical, moral, loving kindness, humane character traits, but Torah gives us something that we need to understand. Part of the whole tznius and the head covering, what does it give us? It gives us something that if without Torah, we won't have it, and that's holiness.
Right.
Holiness you cannot gain from anywhere else but Torah. Torah enables you to be holy. And holy means that you are elevated. You become above the status of just being human. You become godly. You experience something beyond the human form and character. And so when you wear a head covering and when you dress tsanua, you do feel holy.
Right.
It is something you will not be able to attain
anywhere else,
any other place.
And it's funny because it's true what you say, you do feel this sense of that you've been elevated. And it's funny how everyone else around you, even without knowing, I mean, again, I often talk about all the communication that goes on without any words. And this is one of those things that even the people around you will feel this. They will feel this around you.
This level of reverence also,
it's like if your aura is here, this almost pushes your aura out.
And people look at you differently. And you look at yourself then in turn differently.
It's
too.
True. It's very true. It's something, I'm talking about, I feel like chills all over my body now. Like I really do. I feel this energy. It is a very, you cannot replicate this. You can search far and wide. You will not be able to replicate what happens when you
can't explain it to anyone else. How are you going to explain it to the mojo on the street?
It's true. It's true. There is something very special about it. And I almost feel like I wish that all of us in Klal Yisrael would give each other the room and support to be free to do it and to try it and to not have the, I always say, like, what's it to you? If I want to put a shmata on my head, what's it to you? Right?
So here, I'll tell you something that happened to me personally, which was, this took a lot of guts, okay? A few years ago, I was asked to speak somewhere. I'm not going to even say where in Israel, at Israel, I'm not going to even say, but I was asked to speak. And the woman in charge of the organization, she picked up the phone and she asked me, would you mind wearing a sheitel when you spoke for our organization? That's what she said to me. And I said to her, and this was a very important, time for me to talk.
I know.
And it was a beautiful opportunity for me. And I said to her, I'm really sorry, but I cannot compromise my values.
And there goes the emunah.
This is who I am.
Right.
I can't be someone else. I'm teaching emunah, and this is part of the emunah.
And this is why they asked you, right? They asked you, you were wearing the mitpachat. This is part of what
they didn't compromise. They agreed to me teaching, by the way, after that.
For you.
But I think it was a little bit, listen, I've been through my journeys. In the beginning, all my beginning classes, I was with hats and hats and hats and hats. And at one point, I took a group of ladies to the Ukraine, and we were there over Shabbos. And one of the women, on Shabbos, I always wear my techel with the bobo. And so she looked at me when I came down for, the Shabbos dinner in Ukraine, and she said, "Is that you?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You look stunning in a tickle." And she said, "Why don't you start teaching in a tickle?" I said, "Teach in a tickle?" I said, I compromise. I don't like hats. I don't like the way I look at hats, but I would always wear them because I figured that was more generic, more acceptable.
Right. I was just going to say, it's more, it's true. It's
more like run of the mill.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know why we do this to ourselves, right? Like we say to everybody, you have to accept everyone and blah, 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 but we don't even we're always trying to compromise to make everyone else feel okay. And yet we're the ones suffering. We're the one that feel like we're robbing ourselves of our truth. And I think that whenever you do that, something happens to your neshama, and it's not something good. Like whenever you compromise that, and you start going through, it's almost like, when you beat yourself up, I felt like that's what would happen if I went out any other way, that I would have to then talk myself down. Why didn't you just stand up for yourself? Why didn't you just this? And I'm wondering, it's shocking, and to find out how many other women also go through that. I think it's something we do have to talk about and say, listen, this is a real reaction, recognize it's happening, and you can have, because I think whenever you ignore that inside voice that's screaming, that's it. You can't address it. You can't approach it. You can't bring it up with your spouse, whatever it is, because you can't even face it yet. If you can't face it, you can't deal with it. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Well, I'm telling you, after this encounter with this one particular, really, it's a Vegas that she told me, and I was like, really? And she did not leave me alone. We had another 2-3 days to the trip. She didn't leave me alone. She says, "Oh, you hear me? From now on, you change your profile picture, you change your status, you change only because." And you know what? I started changing over my wardrobe, so to speak. And you know what? The response was unbelievable. I was so surprised. Maybe it's because I'm in that public forum or whatever, but most of the women said, "Wow, I like your new look." They would always say, "I like your new look." It's not my new look. It was my old look.
Always my look.
Yeah, it was always my look, but I really was a little concerned to show it. And we all have to acquire emunah, and when like you said, when it comes to our true self, we have to know that the truth is with Hashem.
Right.
You know what? So they'll be frowning, but you remember Rabbi Akiva and Rachel.
I know.
So they laughed at him. And the third day, they just "Oh, it's just Akiva there," or Noah building the ark. They were looking at him, and after the third day, oh, Noah is building his ark. People get used to it. You just have to stay.
It's so funny. I was just going to say, my aunt has a saying in Spanish: "Todo se costumbre a todo." Everyone gets used to everything.
Yes,
and I remember when I first took it on, and the other thing I took on, because again, in some Spanish circles, they're very, when you go to say hi to someone, huggy, kissy, blah, 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 and again,
right.
And so when I started to say, not with the men, and I remember saying, how do you think this is going to go over, right? Because now it's and she said, "Todo se costumbre a todo." They will get used to it.
Wow.
And she's not even she's not and this is what her thing is. And it's true. When, it always brings me back to that pasuk that says, when the Meraglim went in and says, "We were grasshoppers in their eyes."
Right.
Then you will be grasshoppers in their eyes. If you yourself have not come to a place, this is why I say you can't, when people say, "What do you say to somebody?" You don't say. You have to This has to be you. You have to, like the way you married your spouse, you have to marry this mitzvah. It has to be one with you. You will go through your ups and downs with it. But when you see yourself as more than a grasshopper, you better believe that people will also take note of that as well. What you're putting out, people will pick up on. If you don't believe it, they're not going to believe it for you. That's just the way it is.
100%. Wow, this was definitely inspiring for me. I'll tell you, listening to your stories, you have no less of stories to tell here.
I figured this is what's so great about, I hope will be about the series, that women will come out, they will tell their stories, we'll have these conversations, and so many conversations. I mean, over the years, like there's no shortage of stories, and I've been so blessed to hear a lot of them. And I pray that all of Bat Yisrael will start to share in these stories and the support, and really I hope that there will not be this continued rhetoric of this versus that, and just the true support of women, and where they are. I mean, and the thing is that I think also too, sometimes when we voice the things that had concerns for us, it helps, because I think sometimes you think you're the only one, right? Because you're having a conversation in your head until you voice it and people start to say, yeah, me too. So I really felt like it was important, especially in a time where the Yetzer Hara is bombarding. And I mean, he's working overtime to get this message of less is more. And the truth is that less is less. It's just taking more out of you. And I wanted women to know that you can be beautiful, covered up. I can't even tell you, I almost feel like I want to start putting together a video of clips of some of the goyim that are coming up to me, either stopping, whether it's in my place of employment, whether it's on the street. I have people that stop my husband and say, your wife is like, wow,
Wow, that's beautiful.
I am not kidding when I say, I pray to Hashem if this is my most important mitzvah, because it's one I do every second that I have it on, then you better believe I'm pulling Hashem in on this. Hashem, find me all the beautiful colors, find me all the beautiful styles, everything in line that brings honor to your name, that will not only want that Bat Yisrael will wear it, but that the nations of the world will want to emulate this. It's a work in progress, but I got to tell you, Hashem does his thing. He brings you all the great stuff, great price, and it's like,
he really does.
He pays for it. He does it all. I'm telling you, Hashem is really wonderful. I encourage every woman, like, lean on Hashem for every single thing, even if it's that one thought in your head. Please, I beg you, lean on Hashem, cultivate that relationship with him in this mitzvah, and you're going to be surprised what Hashem comes back to you with. And the doors that he's going to open for you in this, it's just going to be something that nothing short of a nest. I mean, this is like really, I encourage everyone to go out and to experience it for themselves.
To do it, what's very important is to do it with loyalty, to do it with a full heart, and to do it rak l'shem shamayim, to do it really just for you, Hashem. This is not about me. Look, I said to you that I do this I'm motivated for my kids. But at the end of the day, I'm not expecting Hashem to deliver anything to me.
Because if he doesn't, I would still do it.
I'm not bargaining with him. I'm doing this. I know that it's somehow serving a beautiful protective shield, but I don't know what Hashem does with the mitzvahs that we do. We're
going to be surprised. We really are.
How can a finite mind understand an infinite mind of Hashem? I don't know what Hashem really has in store for any of us, or his calculations of why he gave us these halachas. I'm his servant. I know one thing. Every day I say to Hashem, give me the zechut to be your loyal servant. Aye, sir. Aye, sir means whatever you want me to do. Do you think I don't want to wear clothes that are a little bit not like 300 times my size for me? I mean, I don't want to wear the pencil skirts that would fit and show exactly my figure. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gorgeous, but I mean, I have a figure. No, I wear the skirts that are a little bit wider, one size bigger. You don't see my bra straps. I don't want you to see
Correct.
what I have wearing underneath me. I don't want you to see my underwear lining, with all due respect. When I twist and turn, it's none of your business what kind of underwear I'm wearing, with all due respect. But again, us women, we love beauty. So there
Yes.
is a certain desire to want to show ourselves off, but it's more important for me to be your Evet Hashem
Right.
than show off what I'm not supposed to be. And if you told
Right.
me I'm not supposed to show it off, then I'm going to make sure I will
Right.
try and beg you, Hashem, that, like you said, you're going to find me the clothing, you're going to find me the money, so that I could buy what's needed to be an example of tzniut
Right.
and safeguard that holiness that
Right.
you gave me inside of me when you gave me my neshama.
Yeah,
And
and I think too, also what the tzniut provides, it provides this little sacred place for me and Hashem,
Yes.
right? Because I need him for like everything.
Everything. It's a sanctuary.
Life is like has a lot of challenges, and I'm telling you, and even somebody, I was diagnosed with lupus many years ago, and that was a big journey. And I felt like, so I'm also aware of just, the strength that Hashem gives you just to get up in the morning. Like there's days where that is a real thing. And so I feel like this provides this nice, safe space. And when you're cultivating your relationship with Hashem, I think more, first of all, you got to have a relationship with yourself, but more than that, you have to have one with Hashem. Those are the two relationships that are going to count for everything, because they're the constant. Hashem is the constant, and more than even with yourself in this Gilgul, he's been with you for all time, and he knows exactly what you need. And, it's just, it's wonderful to connect with this. But speaking of connecting, you are involved in a lot of great projects, and I want you to tell people what you've got going on today for perhaps somebody who's new to this channel, or seeing this for the first time, or seeing you for the first time. Please let us know everything that you have going on, because you have a lot of exciting things going on that I think a lot of women in Bad Israel would love to know about. So please talk to us about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I do teach at the dailydoseofemunah.com. Those are free articles and a lot of shiurim, also on Torah Anytime. I also have a YouTube channel, but all the classes are on Torah Anytime. I have all that's of course for free. And then I also have an Or Talk podcast that I put out on SoundCloud and through WhatsApp. That's also, just inspiration on emunah, emotions, and, just overall wellness and energy, how to boost your energy. I'm also, I teach various different energy therapy practices and classes.
You're right up my alley with this, because I don't think people have really tapped in to the power of having good energy around you.
Yeah.
I mean, woo, and then you put on your mitpachat.
Yes, your whole auric field changes, right? So this is also a very new, it's a pioneering, step for me, going out. I wouldn't say going out, but sort of branching and expanding the emunah perspective, the emunah teaching, the emunah healing, to the whole idea of energy therapy and energy medicine.
Which is really great, especially for past traumas and things of this nature.
Yeah.
This is like instrumental. Sure. I remember I did a shiur years ago on cellular memory, and things of that nature, wiping out that cell. And because in a lot of ways, the body is like a program, right? And it's going to run things that are familiar. And a lot of times, especially if you've been at a low level, right? And if you have this low level energy, it's very easy to gravitate. But the thing is that what people don't realize is that it gravitates other things at low levels.
Right.
And it's like a magnet to you. So
we are vibrational beings, and we magnetize the frequency that we are on. So if your frequency is low because you're feeling bad about yourself, you have traumas and you got, in transgenerational patterns from grandmothers and great grandmothers and all that. Well, all this energy work that I do, we work at the core, at the essence of it. So I'm teaching gemstones, numerology, energy medicine. I'm now planning these beautiful healing retreats on the West and East Coast in the summer. So lots of good stuff.
And it's funny, you know just a little bit about my ancestors. So can you imagine all the stuff I had to get rid of?
Wow. But you've elevated.
About a journey in emunah,
but you've elevated so much of you've brought so much tikkunim now because of all that you're doing.
Baruch Hashem. You know, I have to tell you, I remember, you know, it was funny because I've always had this thing about vibrational and generational and things of that nature. I always felt like there was some portion of my life, whether it was the past Gilgul, that I was not ready to face. And I remember Hashem taking me on that journey because I know that before there was a time that I could not have faced that information. Wow. And I remember the day that Hashem brought it to me. And I remember this wave of Yirat Shamayim that fell over me because I was so like, oh my gosh, like, how could this be? And then I started to realize there's something even bigger that you haven't asked is how great is Hashem's rachamim, that he knew all this and he still allowed you to go through wonderful experience, to come back to Klal Yisrael, to be part of, in whatever way of being an Eved Hashem, knowing, or like Hashem always knew who you were and he knows who you are. Right. But it's us that I think have to discover it. And I think that's part of what's so great about your journey with Hashem is that it is that discovery process of yourself. And every level will bring you a new self. And then you have to get acquainted with that new self. And I felt like when I realized the moment of my own ancestry and who some of my ancestors were, I knew that I had such a much deeper relationship with Hashem that had been ongoing. And I was so grateful in a way that I don't think that I'll be ever able to articulate. And the only way I can do it is to show it and to live it and to be it. And so that he also, and not that he knows, but that he knows how grateful I was. Right. And will always be for his Rahmanis on my life, on my family's life, for bringing me in this journey. He could have chose anyone in my family and he allowed me to do it. And that's it. And so I have, it will never matter if I pray to Hashem for everything in the world and he says no to everything. It will like, Dayenu, right? It's enough that you brought me this way, that you gave me this mitzvah, that you allow me to be part of Klal Yisrael and Bat Yisrael to have these conversations. It is everything. It is everything to me. I'm so grateful to him.
You should continue to do this beautiful work and really bring a Kiddush Hashem to everyone, really.
Yeah, and I really pray. I'm really hoping that people will start to log onto your classes and find out what energy, healing and medicine is all about, because it's phenomenal. Yeah. If you are into naturopath, this is like 2.0 because this will take it. I mean, again, if your neshama is not right, that will radiate out. And like you said, that vibrational pull, when you're vibrating at a lower level, sickness is at a lower level. All these horrible chas v'shalom experiences that can happen to you, they vibrate at a lower level. But when you're at peace, and there is something about being at a higher vibrational level, the peace that comes to you, you feel centered and focused, and you feel like you can stand in your truth. So I think there's a lot, there's a lot there that people are just not aware of.
And as we get closer to Mashiach, all this is becoming revealed.
I know. And I wonder if it's the fact that we'll be vibrating on a higher level that we'll be able to see Mashiach at that point.
You know what I mean? We're becoming less muddled with all our traumas and fears, and we're becoming more enlightened beings on the level of our soul and enlightened. The filters are coming off. Right. Hashem is taking, that's why all this evil is like surfacing, because Hashem is taking off. He's like, I crushed down here. Now I'm going to start opening it up. Let it start, dissipate. But in the meantime, as it dissipates, we're experiencing all this garbage. Right. But it's soon going to leave. And then all of us will be elevated up together with all this new light. And we'll
I'm excited. I can't wait. I feel like today. Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll be there. Please, Hashem.
Well, I've had so much fun with you today. It's been an amazing conversation. I pray Bezrat Hashem will be able to do it some way, somehow again. I'm happy, listen, I'll probably have maybe I'll ask you back on energy medicine. I love this subject. It's a really great subject. And I really feel people haven't tapped into the power of this, that Hashem just has this out there waiting for you to discover. And when you discover, your life really will change. So everyone's looking, I'm going to be linking some of the descriptions of some of these classes down in the description box below. please, please, please log on, find out what this is all about. I want to thank you again, Rebbetzin, for coming out and speaking about your journey and inspiring all Bat Israel. I pray that we will see you again soon. But that's it for today, and I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.
If you've enjoyed this video or know someone who would, please share it. Zechut mitzvot. If you'd like to be notified of upcoming episodes for the Mitpachat Chronicles, click subscribe to be notified.